black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerds.
So, the cast of Dear White People here, a nice conversational discussion about the film and about the series, I should say, the Netflix series. And thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk to us. So feel free to jump in with each of these questions as I bring them up. One of the things that most of the audiences and fans recognize is Dear White People is this really great film that was created that showed the depiction of PWIs in colleges and universities. And what are the main differences between the series and the original film? And what do you think fans will be surprised about?
I mean, one of the things that when I was doing the college Q&A tour with the film is, a lot of people just wanted more. They just wanted to go deeper. And, people wanted to know, well, what else about Line 1? What is Sam gonna do next? And what else is going on in Coco's head? And the best thing about this series is that now we suddenly have this 5-hour plus, canvas to go in on who these people are and what their experiences are. And that was one of the main reasons why, I wanted each episode to switch protagonists so we could really spend time with each character and get to know them in a way that surprises us. That's the biggest difference. And also, the climate it comes out. I wrote Dear White People, around Barack Obama's first term. So we were still under the illusion of post-racism then. I think that we had an opportunity with this show to speak to what's happening now in a more straightforward way than I think, we got to with the movie because people weren't as ready to even accept that racism existed back then, let alone have an honest conversation about it.
Social satire is big right now with films like White People in the past and now Get Out. Everybody's talking about that.
Yes.
So what conversations do you hope to spark with folks after they watch this series?
And I definitely want people to let's just talk too.
This definitely should start with you.
Just never mind.
Deron wants to speak.
Go for it.
Well, I just feel like, this show does touch on a lot of healthy topics, but I think it will spark a conversation about sometimes what we as people find offensive to one another or not, or what is okay and not okay to say to black people or white people for that matter, but yeah, I just feel like sometimes us as individuals, we are desensitized, like I said earlier, to what hurts people and what doesn't, but also what makes people laugh, what is also funny, I guess, so yeah, that is what I hope people discuss.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
I too hope that it provides people the courage to proudly be from the South Side of Chicago, to unapologetically be a black man, to speak up to their parents and come out of their parents' shadows, to say, hey, I'm gay and that's who I am. I'm really proud of that. To really identify confidently with who they are, whether they're biracial, black, Asian, Latino, whatever it may be. I just think that I want people to watch this show and be able to live their truths out loud.
Yeah.
Because those are the stories we're trying to tell. So by chapter 10, I want people to have an exhale and feel that they're walking out of that door wherever they watch the show and are standing up a little bit taller than when they started.
Yeah, I think that's right on because, people talk about intersectionality a lot.
Yes.
And, what that means is just human. It just means human because every human being is an intersection of various things. And I think that, race is a social construct, but the thing is black people didn't invent the social construct. We were born into it. And so it's harder for people of color, frankly, or any marginalized community to figure out who they are because society's already decided it for them. So it is harder for us to be honest about who we are and what we're into and, the kind of lives we lead, even amongst each other, because we are all upholding this idea of what it means to be black that, frankly, we inherited. And it's difficult, it's tricky to figure out I like this kind of music, but I don't talk like that all the time. But in the code switching that comes along with being black is very real, and that doesn't exist in other communities. Like people are just themselves in other communities, and you know, like Ashley said, I just wanted to like it's let's tell a truth that maybe you were afraid to like talk about or deal with, but let's just do it with humor. Let's just put it out there.
And maybe also your role in the resistance, I think. For each person individually to be able to identify and just talk with others about how they feel and what they can do. I don't think there's per se right answer to that question. And so people being able to talk about like how they feel, number one, without feeling, you know, ostracized if they're not a part of this organization or this group, or don't hashtag that, but just to know that their voice is unique as well and be able to openly have that conversation without feeling isolated.
I think anybody who's part of the resistance, a part of any kind of movement in this country, on either side, honestly, like I think the show is a cathartic watch because these characters are in various movements. They don't agree with the method, just like America, but they're all trying to make the world better for people like this.
Don't say it again.
Thank you.
Let's have an increase.
Big time.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I think we see kids sort of effectively and ineffectively try to make change in their community, and even with the best intentions, sometimes it's a loss. And I think anybody on any side of it is gonna see that themselves in that too, and just the struggle to just say, hey, I'm here as well.
Right. I love the fact that art can be activism.
Yeah, I agree.
The show is part of our movement, individually and collectively.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, I did.
No, Marque.
To touch on what you said, I struggled with that myself, doing the work of the show, trying to figure out if I'm doing enough in my real life, as opposed to, you know, you play this kind of character who is just no resistance. Like, what am I doing? Like, make me get my ass up and go out and do something, right? So,
It's the dialogue. Yeah, but something I was saying earlier when we were, it was our interview earlier, we were talking about like I felt like the imperativeness of like art and like opening up dialogue with people, how important it is to like challenge thoughts and put things in people's eyeballs, make them think about their own ideals.
Keep the conversation going.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because people kind of let things just kind of like exist, and it takes art to like put it out there so that we can look at it, listen to it, and hear it, and then I think it's really important that like Justin as a writer, as an artist, has been able to create that voice for multiple characters. I mean, he created a group of kids that have no idea really what they want. You know, they're still trying to figure it out, and they're all fighting against each other. So it's all this back and forth and all this communication. I think for me, it was kind of, it was reflect on like where I, like when Marque said, it was a reflective on me and like where I was in my life, and thinking about the people that I talked to and the things that how I was perceiving things, and realizing that there was things that I wasn't thinking about or talking about, or I think what Justin was touching on earlier too is that people walk into a room, man, like you have no idea what happened to them that morning. You have no idea what happened the day before. Their grandmother died. They just broke up. They had a flat tire. The prejudice and judgment of people put on people. And the fact that like there's a pre-prejudice just by people of color is an insane thing to like really talk about. I feel like for these days.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully the show is a doorway for people to see people other than themselves and actually have compassion for them, to maybe have a better understanding of their plight.
Exactly.
And get to know people that they wouldn't have otherwise even bothered to get to know.
And those are black people too.
Yeah.
Especially.
Yeah.
Seeing different kinds of black people.
Yes, we're not a monolith.
That's right. We are
Shades
not
of
alone.
blackness, like different people who are trying to find their own identity. It's a process of self-discovery. It's interesting that like as a black woman or a black man, like people feel that we need to fit into this little tiny box, but we're all so very different, and it's beautiful to see all of these stories and all of these people go through their struggles and their transitions and have these moments where they're figuring out that who society wants them to be is not who they actually are, and having the bravery of just revealing who they really are in actuality, just knowing their truth. So.
And that's what's gonna be really interesting too, because like later on in the season, when Coco's character, like when her character Coco goes through, is such an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Revealing like later in the season, it's such a really interesting look at her specific perspective on her life and what she's trying to get out of it. And like that was a really heavy episode. It's like it's episode 9, I think.
Yeah.
It's you know it's such a beautiful representation of an eye-wide kind of experience to kind of not only read it on a page, but be able to like know that people are be able to see it, and that you know we have someone to perform it, and people to be able to experience that and be able to relate to that and say like, oh, that's me. And that was me. I'm going through that right now. You know?
Yeah.
So I think this show is really important, not only for. I think it's important for everybody. I think no matter what age, I think young people that are, you know, I think it's important. But one of the best things that I took away from the show is that it's important not to know. You don't have to know exactly, you know, everything that you do in your early 20s. It's about to figure yourself out.
Yeah, it's okay to discover.
It's okay to like just figure, you know, let yourself figure it out. And I think that's what, you know, interesting through season 1 is that we spend a lot of time with everyone thinking they know exactly what they want.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna,
The folly of you.
Nobody knows anything.
I mean, and it's like in a lot of ways, like the show is, we wanted it to be the anti-Twitter. It's like, you know, we wanted every argument to have a point. You know, it's sort of like no argument is right or wrong in this show. You know, is there white people bougie black? You know, blacker than thou propaganda, or you know, is it a lightning rod of truth? Like everyone's opinion is solid and has some validity in the show. You don't get to just put one point of view out there and that's it. Like that's what Twitter is. Like we're in our little bubbles, and like anyone who's not for us, we block them. I mean, I have to just for my own sanity, but it's just like, you know, like,
Yes.
But it's not. Twitter is not a conversation, and that's where a lot of us live. And for this show, it was really important for us in the writer's room. It's like, okay, for every point, there's a counterpoint. Because no one thinks they're wrong and then like asserts their opinion. Everyone believes that they're right and has a past, something has happened to them in their life to get them there, and it was important to show all of that, you know.
Yeah. Also earlier I was asked about one of the differences between A Different World and Dear White People, and one of the primary differences is that this show has an elevated consciousness, which is demanded by the times we're living in. You know what I'm saying? We have to be more woke.
Yes.
You know, we had a choice, I think, earlier, 30 years ago. We had a choice to kind of just be having fun. And certainly we dealt with a lot of issues on that show.
Yeah.
But there's an elevated consciousness that the times demands from this show.
Absolutely. So Netflix is changing the game right now with original content. Do you think a series like this would happen on traditional television?
It definitely could have happened on a cable channel, but there was something really attractive to me about telling a story. You know, I'm a storyteller at heart. Like that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. So the idea to tell like a story in a different way, that's episodic, but it's not week to week, was really fun and exciting. And because you know, I don't sit down and watch Netflix and just watch one episode. Okay, be back Tuesday. You sit and you watch as much of it as you can. And the show is designed for you to do that. I mean, it's a very specific format that we created for this show because the story, it would be different someplace. I'm not saying it wouldn't be
But the
good.
content is also unrestricted by Netflix.
That's true.
Just in terms of
we can go places.
sexual scenarios and use the things that really happen in college. I mean, it's just that much more real.
And the great thing about Netflix is
happening.
there are mandates by the corporate. There are things that they want to make sure all of their shows have, but none of them are ratings based. So it's not that fear of like, oh, will we turn off some part of our audience? That's just not there. A lot of times we would get notes from the network and it was like, can you go further? You know what I'm saying? And it was like, it was a totally just different way of thinking. And I think any place but Netflix, as great as there is programming everywhere, like you don't have that kind of thing where like the fear of turning someone off is just gone. It's just absent from the room. That never comes up.
It's uncensored.
Yeah.
It's such a free place to be.
Yeah, it's a different kind of demand on us as storytellers.
It was pretty well that I've never felt the presence of Netflix on set ever. It was like always just us as a family, you know.
Yeah.
It was like always us. It was just Justin, Yvette, and whatever directors we had that week, or the writers who wrote those episodes, and like us experiencing it together. It was yeah, I've never really experienced.
Creative was really
It was
first.
very
Yeah.
it was very independent.
Creative was
film, you know.
first.
Yeah, creative. Yeah, it was
Absolutely, yeah.
Here at Black Girl Nerds, we talk about nerdy and geeky things, and I asked you guys on the red carpet. So I want to know from each of you, what is a nerdy or geeky behavior that you have?
we had.
Personally, not our characters.
Can I also give them my disclaimer about this? So the thing about nerdy or geeky is it doesn't have to be fucking Marvel. Like nerdy and
Yeah.
geeky means it's whatever you do the most and like the most. Okay, go.
That's right.
Exactly,
Yeah,
that's true.
And like whatever you obsess over.
Yeah.
That's what you're geeky and nerdy about. Okay, go.
Exactly.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, you don't have
Can
to
you
be a
give us an
sitcom
example of what's
character.
yours?
Right.
Okay, so geeky for me is I'm a coding nerd. I love WordPress. I love writing. And then I'm a Netflix junkie. I love watching my favorite shows, Stranger Things and binging, stuff like that. So those are like geeky traits. And then nerdy is like more of the scholastic, academic side.
Okay.
You're into science, math, tech,
Okay.
those things.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. We were talking about that earlier. I was thinking when I was talking about like collecting Marvel cards as a kid, and I was just like, I bought out my binder the other night. And I was like looking at all my like, oh yeah, I totally traded like 3 of these for Storm. That like this like, holographic
Alright.
Storm, my holographic
There's
this,
Storm.
my holographic Gambit card. Like I was a swindler on the book on the school
Man, I was
bus.
into that too as a
I can't
kid.
stand. I love the fashion show Gambit.
1993, I could hustle some of the Marvel cards. Oh yeah, I don't. Oh hey, dude, you want these 3 cards for that?
You got that Storm holographic?
I'm still trying to collect like the whole like the pictures when they like made it when you have like a set of.
Oh,
9,
yeah,
and
it
the
forms
whole
like a picture? Oh my
yeah,
God.
one has like carnage in the background and anyway.
Alright.
But at the same time,
I think I read more books than people are supposed to read in 2017.
Yes.
Reading more.
Okay.
I think I like.
What are you reading right now?
The Sellout.
Ooh, hey, that's homework. That's some homework.
I'm reading it. Yeah, I've got several things going.
I read
Born
too
a
much,
Crime.
too.
Trevor Noah's.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
Amazing.
I read too much too. Like what am I reading? I'm reading a book about quantum mechanics.
To pass the time.
It's a little
Yeah,
palette
I mean-
cleanser. For my Malcolm I'm gonna read the little quantum physics.
It's called Nothing Is As It Seems. I mean, it's written for layman's. I'm not like, I'm not at all mathematically inclined, but I also like the nerdy part of me. I love story. Like I love reading books about story structure and how characters work, and I mean, just like figuring out like the underpinnings of story is really interesting to me. And my geeky side is that like happiness for me is having like 48 hours or more to play Civilization, which is a computer game where you control like a nation from ancient times to modern times.
What about those Chef Ramsay pizzas?
Well, that's don't be telling all that. Like seriously, I put that thing on marathon. Like I put it on the longest, the biggest world I can put it, and I'm just like, okay, I'm Egypt, and we gotta get these farms together, and we gotta do these things. I mean, I'm into it. Like, that's just what I do. And my cats. I almost saw some of my cats.
I have a couple like
Pet nerd.
things that I do. Like, okay, so if stuff's going on with my hair, and I don't necessarily because I have really big curly hair, and just because I have a background in chemistry, so my thought process is just like, well, it's gonna be better than whatever I buy in the store. I might as well.
Wow,
And
that's
then I
cool.
scrapbook. So like I have one of those.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerds.